Games, especially live service games, get a bunch of updates, and when you've got an open world live service game, this rings especially true. However, despite this, I'm talking about something from 3 years ago because my priorities are set straight. Genshin Impact has a massive load of sub-regions, with 2 releases per year on average. However, the first of many was the most experimental of them, and the one that I consider the best of them. The game is very formulaic in a multitude of ways, whether it be characters, areas, or gameplay, but sometimes the first is the most unique, and I think this place is a good example of that. Let's get into it. My best videos have introduction of concept segments, so let me discuss what I value in an area within Genshin Impact for comparative sake. I did this in my Fontaine video, but here I've got a more streamlined way of doing it. Let's bring in a pyramid with 3 core components that resonate with me when looking at an area. To begin, let's discuss the atmosphere and character. Most of the time, a good character and atmosphere is unique, but also effective. Genshin is very good at pulling this off, as I dislike nations such as Inazuma and Fontaine, which both share the same sentiments, meaning they did a good job at pulling it off. I just dislike what they pulled off. This thing they've tried to pull off is tragedy, as well as general mood, and even creepiness. Inazuma is dangerous, hostile, and serious. The storms are raging, colors are far from saturated, yet certain pockets of beauty, like Mount Yugo and the polluted area below. Fontaine does the same, though more tragic rather than hostile, and less beauty-oriented, more focused on the marvels of mankind and their technology. The Chasm and Kanamiya and the Sea of Bygone Eras all have similar atmosphere as well. Mysterious, unknown, emotionally heavy, and forgotten, as well as, once again, creepy. Even Shenyu Vale, while vibrant and alive, feels like it's forgotten in a way, being stuck in the past when compared to the ever-evolving Liyue as a whole. The desert sub-regions deserve a video of their own. They're an anomaly. This is what I mean by formula though, with the first 3 making all of them kind of blend together, though with their own differences. They're all great, but all focus on ruined civilizations that are underground, lacking color with an unknown dangerous force consuming them over time. It gets repetitive and lacks that Genshin-like individuality that I feel when exploring nations as a whole. No nation has Minlin like Liyue does, because it literally doesn't exist anywhere else. No nation has the wasteland of a desert that Sumeru does, and no nation is an archipelago like Inazuma. There are unique elements that form lasting memories in my mind of the adventures I've had. Now, challenge is important too. Inazuma went too far with this, and it's because the rest of the game has far too little, with one exception. Mondstadt and Liyue especially give little to no challenge, acting more like a sandbox. It thrives on the newbie level of experience that players have at the time, though returning to the nations prove just how easy they are. Sumeru has one very easy third, and 2 thirds that are intimidating but more time-consuming than outright difficult, utilizing its puzzles to perform this. The sub-regions attempt to have unique gameplay elements as well, with the Chasm having big black mud, not men, and Kanamiya having sigils. They're alien mechanics that can only be compared to mechanics from other expansions, such as the Sea of Bygone Era's musical variety of puzzles. These mechanics are quite minor at times though, feeling more like gimmicks that you forget exist, typically connecting with the respective collectible for each sub-region. Ignoring the Sea of Bygone Eras and Girdle of the Sands, every expansion utilizes an Oculi-like collectible that benefits a certain mechanic for that sub-region in specific, like Lumen Spa and Sigils. And Kanamiya and the Chasm do a great job at linking these with their gameplay quirks, though the gameplay quirks themselves leave much to be desired, being easy but grindy. They require time, just grinding. Lastly, that mystery I brought up. Every sub-region has some degree of mystery. It tends to be what sets it apart from the rest of the nations it's found within. However, while most people love to talk about how mystery builds up to climax, what about layers of mystery? What if I told you, different to other sub-regions, that there is a mystery generated before you even step foot in this place? You don't know about the Chasm properly until you go there, and the same goes for other expansions, and Kanamiya is hardly even known by players until you get there. It's not like you're intrigued from the very beginning of the game. Do you see where I'm going with this? You are intrigued by Dragonspine.
Do you know the story of Durin and this mountain? Snow gathers atop this mountain and never melts, which is a most curious phenomenon. In fact, I believe that the very sword in your hand has Durin's remains in it. As such, who could I find to help me if not you? Into position! Prepare for battle!
Dragonspine is only a piece of its mystery. It's more appropriate to call it curiosity, as from the very beginning of the game, a large, intimidating mountain overlooks your every movement, kind of like an Eye of the Storm, which I swear they never use them anymore. Similar to that of the Pyramid in Sumeru Desert, or the Kinetic Engineering region in Fontaine, but this is different. Just like how Liyue lets its mountains shine by having otherwise flatter, more watery terrain, Mondstadt is a generic paradise. It's calm, friendly, and generic. There's not much to remember about this place besides just how normal it is. It isn't in a forgettable way, but in a way befitting of a tutorial. This is where Dragonspine gets you. This is where the first piece of its magic gets you. For me, it drawed me in, appearing as a fix for an adventurer like myself. Exploring was my favourite part of the game when I began, with the breathtaking landscapes and visuals, though when I saw the awestruck, larger mountain, it gave me a feeling beyond just that of innocent vibrancy. A feeling of danger, a feeling of more beyond what I've seen. It wasn't something I expected, but I wanted to experience it. The view of the mountain from afar promised me that experience. I had to act on it. Now, I know I said that it drew me in, and even with a sense of urgency, but in reality, I kinda just kept fluffing around, exploring random corners of Mondstadt. That's how swagger the exploration was at first sight. Now, I did, however, randomly run into the mountain. I'll be honest, every time I saw it from far away, it terrified me. That's why I didn't immediately go there. Early on, you've got zero clue what the skill cap is, and that's why it was scary to me. I didn't know how bonkers the game would be. When I did go there though, my need to activate teleporters and statues of the 7 kicked in. Now, when I tell you that this is what the sub-region thrives on, I mean it with every ounce of my being. For real, I'm being for real. I want to make it a point that I never heard of warming bottles till I was in Inazuma. Now, I began my Dragonspine journeys at the Adventurers Guild camp just nearby it, already providing me with lore relevance and 3D nature of the Dragonspine stuff. Knowing people have lost their fathers, not Genshin fans, Genshin NPCs, there are dragon teeth and other things I conveniently forgot, helps establish the mood of the sub-region early on. It's tragic on the surface, but uncertain what it is beyond that. It isn't like other sub-regions where you immediately get a feel for them, but rather something more subversive. When you immediately walk in, a blue bar begins to rise, and if you have any experience with games or have gone to the snow biome in Valheim specifically, you'd know immediately what this means. This isn't your classic sub-region gimmick, it's something more. It goes from unpaced and medium difficulty exploration to survival. Still an adventure, but now it's survival too. You must keep track of more things, lighting up torches, camping out near teleporters, and using the red ore to warm yourself up too. Otherwise you'll freeze. This addresses the difficulty problem, not only setting it apart with a goal, being the differing collectibles, this time Crimson Negates, but also the journey with sheer cold. This isn't all though. Typically, making it difficult to unlock a statue of the 7 would be redundant. It's already easy to get there, you're just making it take longer. That's not Tartagalicious. However, Dragonspine enhances the process, not only your reasoning for doing it. To reach the statue of the 7, you must ascend the foggy, cold, and unique peaks, as well as needing to fight notably more difficult enemies. It doesn't focus on making your process easier, but rather changing it. I wouldn't consider sheer cold explicitly more difficult either. I think it's there to slow the game down a bit, to savor the limited exploration you have, mimicking the cold nature of the area. Layering the place was an important factor in Dragonspine's design, linking up well with this theory. The layering makes the journey not only unique, but enjoyable. And it makes sense it's enjoyable considering the fact that they purposely did this due to the small area. They had to make it have a lot of content, and I think they succeeded, making it feel like a different world altogether. Similar to how regions have individual areas in them, Dragonspine has a lot of distinct areas in it, making it really feel like its own region even though it's on the surface. I'll talk more about this unique isolation and separation very soon. Typically, sub-regions and even a lot of recent areas overall have prioritized twisted, creepy stories. It's cool, as it makes Genshin feel somewhat like a horror game, and I'm a believer of everything having a place for horror. However, Dragonspine manages to be tragic without being fully screwed up. It's a simple story, a mountain built on a dead dragon, very twisted, with storylines for characters like Albedo sprouting out of this. It's cold, beautiful, but peaceful. Even though the gameplay is hostile, it's not aggressive like Inazuma. It's slow like I said, with calming colors and a feeling of unique isolation. Dragonspine music playing just to solidify this. You aren't alone in caves, but rather high up, overlooking the world around you. You're above everybody, on a different plane of existence, sort of like going for a hike. You're alone, it's calm, isolated and more, but beautiful. It makes me think of the idea that being alone and feeling lonely are different. You're undeniably alone, but I wouldn't say I feel lonely, right? Dragonspine, while deserted, still feels alive. There's life to it, there's an identity. The soundtrack confirms this, and overall I just love it so much. The mysterious, anomalous red areas bring intrigue and curiosity, like I said, with a similar alien but fun effect as in the Nether from Minecraft having warped and crimson forests, with the place just feeling so different yet natural. A big contributing factor of this is its place on the surface instead of being purely underground. It has that Chenyu branded feeling of an open world, regional sub-region instead of being a gimmick or dangerous artificial one-off. It's a part of Mondstadt, it really feels that way, but still like its own thing. I guess another part of its beauty is its simplicity. simplicity. Much like other older areas in Genshin, and I will say it, I feel like areas have grown complicated. They don't have the same charm as the older ones, and while I think there's an equally great charm to places like Natlan and Sumeru, there isn't that youthful naivete that there once was. Also, I know it's got ruins too. I just feel like it's less of a tragic thing or disturbing thing, and more of a beautiful, nostalgic thing. It's not the same as how they handle it now, trying to make the sub-regions subversively terrifying all the time. It's more subversively surprising and just unique. It's the same as every other area. It's simple, it's beautiful, and it's natural, but in a way where it's more tragic. It brings a more holistic approach to the world of Genshin, while I feel like the newer areas are more dedicated to trying to subvert existing areas rather than looking at what makes them amazing. Peaks are peak, what can I say? I don't have much to talk about, so I'll just say goodbye here. I hope if you dislike Dragonspine, your opinion has either been strengthened and you've discovered more of what you believe, or maybe you've even come around to enjoying the place. I can't say much else, so goodbye. Though I would like to mention, this has been a more heartfelt one, a more heartfelt video than a more, complainy video. It's less joking and more just me expressing my love for Dragonspine. Because the immersion of Genshin Impact is strongest at its earlier areas, and Dragonspine is one of the best examples of this. I feel like Genshin has really started to focus more on how popular and how enjoyable areas can be and less on the actual atmosphere of them. It doesn't feel like I'm being lost in worlds anymore. Even the soundtracks feel a bit different. I wouldn't say they're worse, like I said, it's just a different type of charm that I feel like you do need to get used to. Similar to how Fortnite, for example, from chapters 1 to 2 changed a lot, and I think there's beauty in that as well. Enjoy your day or night, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.